Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Naam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare
They
Krishna.
can listen me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Please
Okay.
continue.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
So,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees who are there. I take your blessings before starting the class. As we all know that we have been discussing about
Hare Krishna
the
Prabhu.
Mahajanas, the 12 Mahajanas. Yeah. Hare Krishna. May I request all the devotees to please mute the microphones. Thank you so much. Okay. As we are discussing about the 12 Mahajanas, and I was given the opportunity to speak on one of the Mahajanas, which is Yamaraj. So yesterday we had the class, which I do not know how it was, but I'll just do a recap so that we are aware as to what we had discussed yesterday. And in case if somebody has missed some points, then they can communicate with any of the devotees who have listened to the class, and then he can get the information from there. Okay. Yesterday's class, as we started with the power of hearing. Hare Krishna. Yesterday's class was, we started with the class with the power of hearing, not the hearing power. सुनने की शक्ति नहीं, सुनने में शक्ति, सुनने में कितनी शक्ति है जो हम सुनते हैं, उसके ऊपर उसमें कितनी शक्ति है, उसके बारे में हमने सुना था. So it was power of hearing. So we heard about, yes Prabhu? Okay. We had heard about Hare Krishna. Yeah, we had heard about the story of a laundryman, a dhobi, and his donkey when he is trying to go and sell it in the market. And when he comes back, after hearing the power of hearing, he comes back and with the same donkey which he had sold at a lower price, buys the same donkey at a higher price and brings it back. So this is the story was just to make you aware that what is the power of hearing. And then we saw into the question, what should be heard and what should not be heard. So first we dwelt with the question, what should not be heard, and then in that the answer to that was from the Srimad Bhagwatam 2nd canto, wherein it's mentioned that what all topics, the mundane topics which should not be heard. And then we went further into that question, why those topics should not be heard. And the answer was, as it is, we have so many desires which are not fulfilled, and that every now and then the new desire comes up. So if we go on hearing about the mundane topic or the bhautik topics, definitely our desires will go on increasing, and there is never end to it. So that's the reason we should not be hearing to the topics, the mundane topics. Okay, then what should be heard? That was the second question. Then we dealt into that we should hear about the Lord, the Lord's devotees, their pastimes, their qualities, and their leelas. So why that should be heard? So we also went into that, and we heard that there are the main two reasons. Of course, there are many reasons why we should be hearing about the Lord and the devotees, but the main two reasons which were covered in the yesterday's topic was one is that if you want to have the presence of the Lord, I mean, if you want to have the physical presence of the Lord, then you have to hear the Lord's glories from the devotees. That was the first very important point. And the second thing was, since we are not the body, we are soul, and the soul is spiritual. So the soul will only get solace when it hears about the spiritual topic. As it says, the like-minded people, they always go well together. So here, the like-minded people, similarly, the like qualities what we are spiritual, so we will always be happy when we hear about the spiritual topics. I missed out one of the points yesterday, and that was the point which I wanted to bring it to the devotees today, is that many of must have the doubts in their mind. How is it possible, or how is it possible that only by hearing the changes can come? So I will just take just 2 minutes of that from the schedule given to me and explain to you. There is a scientist. If you can Google it out, you'll be able to get the information further. The scientist's name is Dr. Masuro Emoto. This scientist is from Japan. Masuro Emoto. He's from Japan. He has been doing various experiments on the power of sound. And one of the examples which is mentioned and which has been given is that he had taken two small bottles which were containing the cooked rice. It was from the same cooked rice what he had made, and he filled it into different bottles. Now, these two bottles, they were kept at a little bit of distance, as you can understand from the social distancing which is happening nowadays. So he had kept it at a good distance, and every day he had made up a point that he used to go and talk to these two different bottles. Both the bottles were made up of the same material. And they had the cooked rice which are of the same quality and cooked at the same time. Now, when he used to go and talk to one of the bottles, and he used to tell that bottle, you are very good. You have the beautiful aroma. You are the best quality, and all the good things he used to tell to that bottle. And then he used to go and enter to the other bottle, go towards the other bottle, and he used to say, you are worse. You are good for nothing. You are rotting. You're smelling. You're smelling real bad. So this he used to say to the another bottle. After a given point of time, after a few days, you will be surprised. The rice which to whom he was talking that you are the best, you are having good aroma, you are very sweet, you are so nice. Those rice were exactly in the same condition in which he had packed on the first day. But the rice which were exactly from the same quality, everything same, but to whom he used to go and talk in a harsh language, that rice, that bottle of rice, the rice inside, they started rotting and they started smelling. So you can Google it out. The name of the scientist is scientist Masuro Emoto. Now, why I wanted to bring this to to the attention of the devotees here is that when we are doing an Achman, at the time of doing the Achman, we are reciting some mantras. So it is not just a ritual. This has impact. When we are touching our bodies and taking the different names of the Lord, the Lord is taking care of those parts of the body. And in the end, when we are trying to sanctify or purify the water by chanting Gangecha Yamunecha, that shloka itself brings the power of Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati in the water, and thus we get blessed throughout the day whenever we are doing Achman and whenever we are going in front of the Lord. So that is the reason this was an important point which I missed yesterday and wanted to add here. Thereafter, we went further down into the qualities of the Mahajanas. Like I mentioned, who are the Mahajanas, and we went further down, and then I was talking about how many Mahajanas are there, and then we identified the 12 Mahajanas, and we also explained that it's not that difficult, even though being in a grahastha state, that we can do the bhakti, because the examples here which were given is that 7 out of the 12 Mahajanas, they were grahasthas, and I mentioned also the name of the 7 Mahajanas who are grahasthas, and who the 5 Mahajanas who are from the renounced order. So now, in the end of the yesterday's session, a wonderful question was raised by His Grace Vinay Mukund, like how can we are totally engrossed in the day-to-day activities and in our life. So how can we get ourselves ahead in Krishna consciousness? Basically the question was, how can we balance that? How we can balance the act? So we collectively, myself and His Grace Vinay Mukund and Her Grace Shuguna Mataji, we gave an answer which I understand all the devotees, they must have got clearly. I just wanted to add one of the very good statement which I heard from Mahatma Das, one of the very good devotees who is conducting many of the japa classes. He mentions, and this statement has just gone right into my heart. He says that, just listen to this very carefully. He says that pray as if everything depends on the Lord. Pray as if everything depends on the Lord, but act as if everything depends on you. But act as if everything depends on you. This is what Arjuna did. He did his best, but at the same time, he used to pray to the Lord. So pray as everything depends on the Lord, but act as if everything depends on you. So you have to put your 100% to whatever acts you are doing. Maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's material, but you have to give 100%. And at the same time, pray to the Lord that everything, when you pray to the Lord, we say that, oh, everything depends on the Lord. But when we act, we have to act in such a manner that everything depends on us. And when we have this motto in our life, we will definitely give 100% in spiritual as well as in the material world. Okay, so now I have taken enough time. We will just start with the qualities of Yamaraja. So I was just going to, it was a tough task, but nevertheless, I have got almost 29 qualities which I could get. Of course, there are many qualities of Yamaraja. So there are 29 qualities. It's just one-liners, so it won't take much of time. But wherever there is required, I will just explain. I'll try to explain the glories and take that particular point in details. So first of the quality of the Yamarajas, that everybody will agree. Everybody will agree, and it's mentioned there in the Shastras that we must have taken hundreds and thousands of births, maybe millions, but in a human form, we must have taken hundreds and thousands of births, as we are human beings now. In every human being, in every human form, what we have taken, the birth we have taken, we must not have had darshan of any Mahajans except one Mahajan, which is Yamaraj. I think there's some issue with my internet. I'll just give me a moment, please. Siddharth? The internet is slow, is it? Can somebody verify they are able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, can hear.
Yeah, it's clear, right?
Yeah, Prabhu, we can
Yeah,
hear.
it's clear. It's clear.
Yeah, only thing is in between there is some lag.
Yeah, okay. That because the internet was giving some issues here. Anyways,
Okay.
Slight lag, but it's fine.
yeah. So sorry about that.
Okay, bro.
So okay, first, as I told you that in the human form, where we have taken the birth, we must have taken hundreds and thousands of births as a human. We must not have had the darshans of any of the Mahajans, except we must have had definitely in the human form whenever we have taken birth. Before that, we must have surely died. So when we were dead at that time, we have taken darshan of Yamaraj. So that's one of the glories of Yamaraj. So just imagine how many times we have taken darshan of Yamaraj, but still we have not probably heard his glories. So at least we have this opportunity now to hear his glories and try to imbibe the qualities what he has. Okay. The second one is he's a pure devotee of the Lord, as he's a Mahajan. So obviously he has to be a pure devotee of the Lord. Then he's an excellent administrator. This is one of the qualities. He's a very soft-hearted Vaishnava. He is a very soft-hearted Vaishnava. As explained earlier, he is a Grihastha. The name of his father and his mother is Surya Dev and Samya Devi. Father is Surya Dev and the mother is Samya Devi. Yamra's twin sister is Yamuna, or also called as Yami. So we must have heard about the stories about the Leela of on the day of Bhai Dooj, or what they call Bhai Beach, that if anybody goes and takes, the brother goes and takes bath in the Yamuna river and he is fed by his sister, this was when Yamaraj came to Yamuna Devi and he took, Yamuna Devi fed him excellent prasadam. So Yamaraj was very happy and he said that what benediction should I want to give you the benediction. What do you want? So she said that in case anybody who comes, the brother comes and takes a bath here in Yamuna, in Yamuna river, and he is fed by his sister, they should not see Yamadutas or Yamaraj. So this is one of the stories of Yamaraj. Then he's Lord of Death. This is one of the qualities. Then he sits on the throne of judgment. The throne on what he sits is called throne of judgment.
Prabhuji, sorry, can I ask my question later or after your speech is over, or can I intervene now?
I would prefer to have it in the end, if
Thank
that's
you.
not a problem.
Yes, please. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. He sits on the throne of judgment. This is one of the qualities. Then his decisions are final and perfect. Whatever he takes a decision, they are final and perfect. There is in this there is a what they call a conditions apply. I'll just read that condition. His judgment cannot go wrong. In his judgment, he always keeps condition apply. And what is that condition? The judgment passed by him. The judgment passed by him is only if only approved and favorable if approved by Krishna or his devotee. Whatever judgment he gives, if that judgment is approved by Krishna or his devotees, then only the judgment is valid. So this is what the conditions apply here means. So in this pretext, there is a story which is there from the Shastras. It is about Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi, as per his destiny, it was that he was supposed to die at a young age. But Markandeya Rishi was a very, very staunch, devotee of Lord Krishna, Lord Shiva. So he used to pray to Lord Shiva right from his childhood. Now, when the time came, when the time of his death came, as it was destined, when the time came, Yamadutas, they went there and they saw that Markandeya Rishi, he was, offering his prayers to Lord Shiva, which was in the form of Shivalinga. So this Yamadutas, they went back and told Yamaraj that we can't take him, that he's praying and he's praying to the Lord Shiva. So Yamaraj, he himself came down. And as we see in the picture, he has a noose in his hand, a rope which, the noose is meant. So he threw his noose, but it was luck or something. The noose did not go into the head of Markandeya Rishi. It felt on the Shivalinga, and Shiva came out of the Shivalinga, and there was a fight between Shiva and Yamaraj. And then Yamaraj obviously he lost, and at that time Lord Shiva told Yamaraj that not only you're not leaving this Markandeya Rishi here, but he will have a very, very long extended life. And the benediction was given. So this is how, the conditions apply. Now, why does the condition apply here? Because Lord Shiva is Param Vaishnava. So as I mentioned, that his decisions are final, but his decisions are subject to, if they are approved and accepted by Lord Krishna or his devotees or his pure devotees. So this is one of the examples. Second examples you can very well correlate is with Ajamil. Ajamil had, at the time of his death, it was Yamadutas had come because he was sinning throughout the period, throughout his life. Now, what happened at the time of death? He called his son Narayana, and at the Vishnu Dutas, they arrived, and Yamadutas, they had to cave in, they had to leave, and Ajamil was taken. Even though Ajamil was supposed to go to Yamaraj, to Yamaloka, but because Vishnu Dutas were there, they had arrived. So there was a discussion between them. This is mentioned in the scriptures, and Ajamil was taken away by Vishnu Dutas. He was escorted by Vishnu Dutas. So these are the two examples of his, how he works. Then there is he has a secretary whose name is Chitragupta. Chitra is, in Hindi, it's called picture, and Gupta means secret. So he has a secret photographer who clicks the photographs and who keeps the records. And his records are meticulous. No one can, the system never crashes or never gets corrupted, and the details are there. The minute details are there. So this is about Chitragupta. Then his messengers, as everybody knows, are the Yamadutas. He has two dogs the two dogs, they follow the Yamadutas. Before the Yamadutas, the two dogs, they go and they see the person who is to be escorted, and they verify and they inform Yamadutas, and Yamadutas, they come and then they pick the person who is to be taken. The most important thing is that this jurisdiction or judgment of Yamaraj is applicable only to human beings. This is not applicable to animals, birds, or insects and all that. It is only applicable to human beings. Why? Because it's the only human being who go and cross the boundaries, not the animals or the lower species. Now, there is one more quality of Yamaraj. He cannot be fooled, and he cannot be, cheated. So there is a story behind it, which I have read. Srila Prabhupada's lectures were there. In that, we have heard that one of the guys, he thought that, okay, if since Yamaduta, he is a Mahajana, he is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, so he will not come to the people, to the people who are, jo gande hain, the people who are not clean. So he will not come to them. So what he does, he applies the stool all over his body. So this is Vishnu Dutta. The Vishnu Dutta will not come to a person who is, in a bad shape. He is dirty. So he applies stool all over his body, thinking that, okay, Yamadutta will not come at the time of death. But the Yamadutta is too smart. He sends first a pig, and everybody knows the pig, food is the stool. So the pig goes and he cleans the person, and then he has been taken by Yamaduta. That's one of the examples which I've read in Srila Prabhupada's purpose or lectures. Then second one is, there was a guy who was a very, very renowned sculptor. He used to make beautiful idols. He used to construct them from the stone. So this guy somehow happened to come to know that his death is nearing. So what he did, he created 7 sculptures of his own, and they were so lively that nobody can make it out at which is real. So when the Yamaraj is coming to him, he stood just in between one of the idols which he had created, this statues which he had created. So when the Yamaraj came, he knew that, but just to make it more elaborate, he started praising. He said, "My goodness, wonderful sculpture! What beautiful, idols have been done." But it seems that, when he was telling this, the sculptor, he was hearing that, and he was blushing. So obviously, the statues won't blush, but he was blushing. So this was quite evident that he was the real guy to be taken. But then the Yamaraj went further and he said, everything is fine, but this sculpture, he doesn't know how to do the painting. He doesn't know how to paint this idol. So the sculptor who was there, he was so taken, with the praise that he said, no, I can do it. And he says, okay, now let's go. It's your time to go. So this is another example. The third one is that, one of the lawyer was there, and when Yamaraj comes to him, the Yamadutas, in fact, Yamadutas come to him. So Yamadut is asking him that, okay, it's your time now, let's go. So this lawyer, he says that, no, you haven't given me any notices. I'm a lawyer and you have to give me notices. So the Yamaraj then he explains him, we have already given you four notices. He says, no, I haven't received any. So the Yamadutas, no, we have given 4 notices, and we can see that you have received those 4 notices, but you are denying that you have got them. He says, no, which are the 4 notices? Where are those 4 notices? So the Yamadutas then tell him that first and foremost thing, your hair, they went gray. but you started to hide them by dyeing them. The second was your teeth. The teeth started falling, but then you started, doing orthodontic, your dentistry. You went to the dentist and get them repaired. Then we made your eyesight weak. Even that you tried to cover it, with the glasses. And finally, we made so much of wrinkles on your face. And what did you did the surgery. So these were the signs. These were all the notices that we had given. Now this lawyer, he was taken back. He said, "My goodness, yes, these guys are too smart. So now what should I do?" He said, "Okay, let me just do one thing. Can you tell me who all are there that are to be carried along with in today's schedule?" So the Yamaraj, the Yamadutas, they showed, "Oh, these many number of people are there, and now it's your turn." So after that, for example, 5 people who are to be carried, who are to be taken. So after that, 5 people are there in the queue. So this lawyer, he says, "Okay, why don't I give you some good prasadam? You have the prasadam, and then we'll go." So what does lawyer does? He says, "Okay," he feeds them a sumptuous prasadam, and a kind of intoxicants were added to them, so the Yamdutas, they fell asleep. So what does this lawyer do? He cuts his name from the list and writes the name in the end, so that at least now when they get up, they will start seeing that, oh, this is not the person to be carried. So they will go and take the rest of the people, the 5 people who are there, and then they will come and take him as a 6th person. So when the Yamadutas, they got up, he says, "We are so happy. We are really so happy with whatever, Mehman Nawazi you have done, whatever, you glorified us, and you have, fed us with such sumptuous prasadam. What we will do, thank you so much. We are going now, but what we will do, we'll start the list from the down. We'll start the list starting from down." So obviously, it was his turn to go. So this is how they cannot be fooled. Yamadutas cannot be fooled. So these are the 3 stories. Then everybody will agree that the most difficult part of Yamaraj is to, to give the punishment to the people. It's not an easy task. There are so many good souls, so many good people. They have been doing throughout the life. They have been doing good and bad. So he has to, give them. He has to bless them in case if they have done something good. But at the same time, if a person has done even something wrong, he has to be punished. So this is a very, very difficult task. Howsoever good a person must be, if he has done something wrong, he has to get punishment from Yamaraj. So this is a very, very difficult task. The most important thing is the Yamaraj, he's always, always, always yearning to hear Srimad Bhagwatam, which gives the glories of the Lord. He's always happy. So if you see from Srimad Bhagwatam, it is in the Saunakadik Rishi, they are calling Yamaraj to attend and hear about Srimad Bhagwatam. So he is always ready to hear about Srimad Bhagwatam. Now, if somebody wants to read about 28 hells, there are 28 hells, and uh, in the Naraka. The 28 hells means there for each and every sin when a person does, there are different type of hells. So there are 28 different categories, and these are mentioned in Srimad Bhagwatam in the 5th canto, 26th chapter. All the 28 hells are mentioned there in Srimad Bhagwatam. Suppose somebody wants to read them. Yamaraj, as I told you, is always yearning to hear about Srimad Bhagwatam, but he doesn't get the opportunity. And this is known by Lord Krishna that, okay, this Yamaraj is always yearning to hear, and not only hear, but he wants to go and preach to different people about Krishna consciousness, about Krishna, about Lord Krishna, about Lord Vishnu. So Lord knows, of course, Lord knows everything, but here the Lord knows that, okay, Yamaraj is yearning to go and hear. So there's a story behind that also, that once, and this is in connection to the birth of Vidura. Vidura was the brother of Dhritarashtra and Pandu. So Vidura, now how did Vidura, as they say, is incarnate of Yamaraj. Now, how did Vidura come into existence? There, they say that there was one in the king's palace. There was a king, and in the palace there was a not in the palace, in the kingdom there was is a rishi. His name was Mandaka Muni. Now Mandaka Muni, he was a very mystic yogi, and he was performing all his yoga sadhanas, staying in his own kutia. Now it so happened that there were some thieves who had entered in the palace of the king, and they stole some items from the kingdom, and they started running. Somehow uh, um, the people who were there, and the soldiers of king, they found this out, and they started chasing them. Now these thieves, they entered into the kutia, or the hut of Mandaka Muni, and hid their loot inside the hut. Now when the soldiers of the king, they came, and they started asking, Mandaka Muni said, no, there is nobody here. And when they forcefully entered into the hut, they found that the thieves were hiding there and with the loot. So the thing came to they brought Mandaka Muni as well as the thieves to king, and the king ordered them that they should be pierced with a spear and killed. And this was the punishment which was given. Mandaka Muni was totally shocked and surprised as to why this thing has happened to me. Nevertheless, when the time came for the punishment, the thieves were made to stand, and so was Mandaka Muni. And when they were about to, when the instructions were given to go and pierce the spear into the bodies of Mandaka Muni, and at the last moment, the king asked the soldiers to spare Mandaka Muni, that as he's a Muni, so let him go. So Mandaka Muni, he came, and he was just contemplating what has happened, why this thing happened to me. So since he was a mystic yogi, so he went to Yamaraj, and he says, because it's a Yamaraj instructions, that was the thing. So let me just go to Yamaraj and find it out. So when he went to Yamaraj, he asked that why was I, inflicted with this kind of trouble, this kind of problem, that I had to suffer like, I was about to die. They would have killed me without fault of mine. So Yamaraj, he goes into the details, and he tells him that it is because when you were young, at that time, what you did, you took a straw and and you pierced an ant. And because of that pain which it was suffered by the ant, that you should suffer, this was the thing which was, you are punished in this manner. So Mandaka Muni got really wild. He said that it was not my fault. I was a young child. Since you have done this, I'll curse you that you go and take birth as a Shudra. So when this was heard by Yamaraj, he just said, Hari Bol. Why? Because now he had the opportunity of going and taking birth as a son of Shudra in the Shudra's home, and then he has a time to go and preach and do all the activities what a devotee does. So he comes here and he was born as Vidura. Now, when he was born as a Vidura, he came. He was not able to stand, give the instructions. He accumulated all the knowledge, all the spiritual knowledge he accumulated. Then, when there was a war, a Kurukshetra war, he was banished from the kingdom by Duryodhana. So he has to go out, and he went and he started. He did all the yatras. He went to all the holy places, and this is how the blessings came in disguise. He was cursed. Had it been somebody else, he would say, "Why are you cursing? What did I do wrong?" But he took it as, and so this entire thing, this entire Leela was enacted, or was made by the Lord himself, so that he can not only go and take a break, but take a very long break and do do what he desires. And what he desires was to go and preach to the different people and have visit different holy places and take the blessings. So this is what how the Lord fulfills the desires of the Mahajan or his devotees. So this is one of the stories. Now we are just it's 8:52 and 8 minutes to go. Just wanted to add then what is the takeaway of this entire class, or in fact what is the takeaway of the Mahajans about which you have heard from from few days. As I was talking to Vinay Mukund Prabhu, he mentioned that there were 5 Mahajanas which have been which have been discussed earlier, and this is the 6th one. So he mentioned that Brahma was one of the Mahajanas which you have discussed. So I was going through one of the lectures where I heard that what are the takeaways, what kind of qualities or what kind of messages we hear or where we get it from this, the qualities of these Mahajanas, which we should try to imbibe in our day-to-day life and try to serve the society, to serve the and make the people understand the qualities and the qualities of the Mahajana. So, as in the case of Brahma, one of the best qualities which I understand is that you should follow the instructions of the Lord. Brahmaji always followed the instructions of the Lord, and this is what we hear. Then Janaka, the Mahajan Janaka, which has been discussed in the classes prior to this. Janaka, what you hear from Janaka, generally from Janaka, you hear or you try to imbibe the quality of extremely humble. You have to be extremely humble. This is the quality which Janaka had. Then how about the 4 Kumaras? The 4 Kumaras, the most difficult thing and the most important thing on which the whole material world is rotating is all about sexual activities. And since they knew about this, they made up a mind that they will not grow older so that they reach the puberty age. So this is how to control the senses and how to dedicate your life. This is what we